Manifestation Pod. We are Louise and Sam, two ordinary mums living extraordinary lives through friendship, self-improvement, manifestation, the law of attraction, and a little bit of the magic. We look forward to you joining us on our fortnightly podcast. Hey, good morning and welcome to the Manifestation Pod with Louise and Sam. So today we're going to talk about overcoming adversity. That's our subject for today. But before we get into that, we'll just do a little, hi Sam, how was your week? Oh,
yeah, not so really busy, but I don't know. I feel like since the last podcast, like January was all high five energy and amazing. February was pretty good but harder, and then these last few weeks have just been, I don't know. I think I've had to overcome a lot of adversity in the last few weeks, which is affecting my vibe, I would say. But yeah, just a really busy week work-wise. And we might talk about this in a later podcast, but I have been doing some manifestation work with Manifestation Babe with Catherine Zenkina. I did a 5-day little challenge, which took me into a really interesting unconscious level of manifestation. So that's been fun. I have been enjoying that.
I remember you telling me about that because I think you did invite me to it. But I don't know, I couldn't do it that week for whatever reason. But I'm feeling a bit envious now and wish that I had done it.
It was really good. It was a free challenge as well, and she only does free challenges a couple of times a year, but maybe we can talk about it in another episode. How have you been? How's your March and February?
Weirdly very similar. So January was like, if we're going to mark it out of 10, it was a 10 definitely. February was definitely a high 9, and March has been a bit, I don't want to say crap, but yeah, not as good. I think part of it is because I am in the process of moving house and I feel very, very stuck like glue. I've not got a date to move, so I can't pack. And all the things that normally, I don't know, I'm doing, I feel like I can't do. I can't read any books or do any challenges because I feel like my head's not in the right place because I'm just thinking about moving. The actual process itself is causing a lot of work with solicitors. I've got to find some paperwork tomorrow, which is just, I don't even know what I'm looking for. Yeah, it's been a very, very odd March. So it's March the 15th, I think, on Wednesday. I'm hoping the second half might turn around a little bit. I think a lot of it as well is my mindset. I think I need to change it. I feel a bit like a catch-22 because I feel a bit stuck like glue and I'm not in the right mindset because I feel like my life is very much on hold at the moment because of the moving house thing, and therefore everything else is on hold. But equally, I know that to get me out of the slump of how I'm feeling, I need to take some action and do something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how
It's a funny time of year though, isn't it? Because like spring is really close, but it's not here. So like winter and like the cycle of your body, and if you line it with the earth and the moon and everything, is like, no, not yet. Like rest a bit more. You've got a week or two. Like the 21st is like spring. So it's kind of the natural way to be, isn't it? But like the outer world, everyone else is like, no, it's spring, I've seen a daffodil, it's spring, that's it. And it's like, no, hang on, like the energy is just not quite right to like dive into spring. So I think it will pick up.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, a couple of weeks ago we had some very spring-like weather. It was getting quite warm, it was sunny, and we've had snow this week, and it just feels like, I don't know, it's snowing, but it's not the exciting snow you get just before Christmas or just after, because I'm like, yeah, I'm done with snow. I'm done with winter. I want the spring to come. So everything feels very in between at the moment. But I also thought, and I forgot to tell you this, but to pick myself up, I thought I'd listen to a feel-good podcast. So I listened to The Law of Attraction Changed My Life, which is my go-to feel-good podcast. But that was all about what you've just said about, it was about women's bodies being in tune with the moon cycle. And basically, it just made me feel worse because it was basically saying that years ago, the our bodies were, our cycles were in tune with the moon. And then, I don't know how many years ago, but hundreds of years ago, some bloke decided that the calendar wasn't going to be in tune with the moon cycle anymore. They're going to make a new calendar and they're going to do it over 12 months. And this is why, like, our bodies are out of sync all the time and we feel a little bit out of whack because we're not syncing with the earth anymore. And that really pissed me off. So I'd gone from being in a bit of a mood to I need to kind of put myself on a different vibe. And I just felt shit after listening to that. I felt even worse because how dare some man decide the calendar when it doesn't fit with how it was supposed to be. So
yeah, no, I think anger is the right reaction to that. It's like, how did we not know this until now? Like, so but we know now. So, and I think that was the Kate Northrup episode, wasn't it? And you've got her book to do as well, like Do Less book. I think that'll like really see it even more. It's really good that I haven't actually read it, but a lot of the stuff that she goes into is stuff that I've done before, the cyclical living and, you know, following your cycle with the earth cycle and planning your life around that cycle in a good way, of like using your energy at times of the month in the best way possible to your biggest advantage. And that can only be a good thing.
It can, but I wonder, and again, I've not read the book, but I wonder how realistic that is to do that when you have, you know, I don't want to say mum's load, but I'm feeling very like that this week. A job, a child, a house to look after, and all the things that go with that. And funnily enough, the whole women thing, it was International Women's Day on Wednesday. And I listened to, it really annoyed me. I don't know why. I was in such a bad mood on International Women's Day. I didn't put any post on Facebook about it. I didn't put any post on my business account about it. I just pretty much ignored it because I just felt all day like, okay, we've moved forward a little bit, but we're still nowhere near there. And I listened to a video that some chief executive had put on YouTube about treating people fairly and equally in the workplace and about work. It wasn't equality, that word's changed now. It's about equity, gender equity, which basically means not treating everyone the same, but treating people based on their individual circumstances, which, you know, is great. I'm a feminist, it's only a good thing. And then she was going on to say, you know, for example, where she works, they think outside the box. They employ women to do traditional men's roles, for example, women joiners, men doing traditional female roles, which sounds great, but is that the only distance we've come, that a woman can be a plumber or a woman can be a joiner? And what I wanted to scream at the screen is, that's all very well, that's all very lovely saying, oh, you're a woman, you can be a joiner. But what happens when that woman gets that job and then she has a child and she's got childcare responsibilities and she's got flexible working to navigate and she's got a work-life balance to navigate and she's still got to do everything at home because, and I'm just going to say this because it's the mood I'm in, women take the burden in the house. I don't care how many men do the fair share of cooking, cleaning and the household responsibility. The mental load is on the woman. And we've just not moved on from that.
It's really funny. I know this is totally off track, but I had a really weird International Women's Day as well. And I felt exactly the same. Like, I didn't want to like shout about it or anything. And I actually went to a lunch for International Women's Day with like 110 women. And I actually cried during the lunch.
Really?
Because I walked into that building and I was like, this is not what it's about. Like, it was a super glam lunch, and it was just all so surface And really, I wanted to like, and this is just me, not every woman's the same. So, but for me, I was like, I want to be in the woods, being a wild woman. I want to be around the fire with women that feel like they can be any type of woman and be at peace with themselves and not like the surface level woman that the world expects us to be. And that's what it felt like. So I had a really weird International Women's Day. I was at a table with like beautiful women that I work with or see all the time. And I've never seen them in that way or in that setting before as well. So that really unnerved me. And then I was just like, this is not what being a woman is about for me. And I just think,
Having lunch.
yeah, I think the message has just gotten so lost. And I love going for a nice lunch, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it just felt like we're missing the trick somehow, and we're not quite where we think we are.
We're not anywhere where we think we are. I truly believe that. And I do feel like there's a, oh God, I sound like a man hater and I'm not, but I do feel like we've evolved, obviously. I'm sure if you asked our parents, like my mum, she's one of the waspy women with pension issues. She would say we've evolved from where she was. And I understand that, but we're nowhere near where we should be at all. They People talk about, equal opportunities for women, and you can do a man's job and you can do this and you can do that. But when your kid's sick, you can bet your bottom dollar it's not your husband finishing work to go and pick your kid up. It's you having to do it. And it's you having to go cap in hand to you, in my case, male manager to say, oh yeah, I've got to go and, pick Charlotte up, she's not well, I've got to do this. Last Monday, oh my God, sorry, this has just turned into a rant, but last Monday, I had the worst Monday I think I've ever had, possibly ever, in terms of things going wrong. So I got up on Monday morning, I was due to work from home, Charlotte was due to go to school, it was just supposed to be a normal Monday. She'd been ill on the weekend. She had, well, we don't even know what she had, but some kind of viral throat, whatever. But she got impetigo, which is highly contagious. So I ended up ringing in school and saying she can't go to school, and she was at home with me. But her face was such a mess. I ended up ringing the doctor and getting a doctor's appointment for her. So she had a doctor's appointment. I am supposed to be off on a Monday afternoon, so I had 2 doctor's appointments on Monday afternoon pre-booked, but because of some cock up with my hours, I ended up having to do a full day. So I basically did a full day's work, attended 3 doctor's appointments in my time alongside a full time's work. The bloody boiler broke down and my heater, well, actually, to be fair, it didn't break down. The thermostat broke, so I couldn't put the heating on. It was freezing. So I had to get a plumber out. And then the bloody cat had a water infection and was walking around crying its eyes out all day while I was trying to work. So I ended up, luckily I found some medicine from last time it had one. But I was literally thinking, are you kidding me? I'm trying to, and I'm getting emails from my boss saying, like, oh, it's year end, we're really busy. And I was just like, yeah, I know. I know we're really busy. If you could see the madness in which I'm working today, I've got a sick kid who's, like, mommy, pass me this, pass me that. The cat is literally meow, meow, meow all day behind me. And then we're getting notifications saying, oh, don't forget it's International Women's Day on Wednesday. Is it? Is it really? Oh my God, I feel so good for saying that. Yeah.
What a weird week. What a weird week. It's funny, like I think I sent these when I was in the garage clearing it out recently, and I kept finding loads of weird stuff, but some really good stuff I found photos of like 6 generations of the women in my mum's side of the family.
No, you've not told me that.
I haven't told you that bit, no. And I was thinking about this on International Women's Day because one of them is like back to Victorian times, so like 18 something. I think that's Victorian times, forgive me, I don't know properly, but so me and Iris were like sat there and I was like, look, there's you, there's me, there's my mum, and then all these generations going back. And we had a really good chat about like, what were they doing then? What could they do? And then we did some family tree stuff, and they were actually like bakers and upholsterers and things like that.
Wow.
And we had a really nice talk about how like we're grateful for the choices that we've got now and the freedoms that we do have in comparison to those women, because you know my family is like Irish Catholic background, so massive amount of poverty that they lived in during those times. And you know, women that had many kids, like Irish Catholic families, there's like 10 kids minimum, isn't there, on most sides. So yeah, you know, when you look at it properly and really sort of dig back, there's a lot to be grateful for, and there absolutely massively is. But yeah, we've not got it all right. There's still places to go, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, there is. I think one comfort I did take was on Monday evening after the madness of Monday. And I actually felt like Monday, and this I suppose is relevant to what our podcast should have been about, overcoming adversity. All day Monday, I kept thinking, if I can just get to, well, it wasn't even 5 o'clock because I had a doctor's appointment for me after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I needed to make dinner and do all of the usual stuff. And all I kept thinking was, if I can just get till 7 o'clock, I'm just going to lie on the sofa and watch TV tonight and do nothing else. And I was all day, when I was feeling like a little bit fraught, I just kept thinking, you're doing great. You've come this far. The kids got medicine. The cat's got medicine. I'm working. I'm doing my job. The house is reasonably done. The kid's been fed. The cat's been fed. I've been fed. Everyone's happy. Everyone's healthy. Charlotte's living the best life. She's not in school. She's watching God knows what on, I don't know, Tracy Beaker. I think she was watching all day. Yeah, just get through the day. And I did. I got through it, and I had a real sense of like accomplishment on Monday night. I was like, wow, I got through the day. I did a day's work. I did all these things. Everyone's going to bed, healthy, happy, fed. We're good. We got through it. And the rest of the week is going to be an absolute doddle after this. All I've got to do is work. That's easy. But yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one. But on Monday night, making dinner, washing up afterwards, Charlotte stood behind me in the kitchen. She helped me dry, love her. And she said, Mummy, when I get married and grow up, I'm never going to wash the dishes. And I went, all right, okay. So she went, yeah, I'm going to get my husband to do stuff like that. And I was just like, good for you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she'll have a dishwasher, obviously, but yeah, just that absolute determination that she won't be doing that because she just thinks that's like the worst thing in the world. And if you can go into life with that attitude that you are not washing the pots, that's my girl. I've done a good job there.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like empowering them to choose what they want and like going with that and sticking with that. I mean, that's awesome, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I must give Carl a shout out because like he does loads of that, and like I have so much freedom and stuff to just get on with like all my different projects and work and everything. So to be fair to him, he does take up a whole lot of the home load.
Yeah, you've said that before. I think as well in Carl's defence, I don't include him in my man-hating rant. I think he can be excluded from that because he does like. See, I was going to say then go above and beyond, but it isn't actually, is it?
No, he does share the load.
Yeah,
He does
yeah,
absolutely share the load, and a lot of the mental load as well, to be fair. Any load that he doesn't share is because I'm not communicating well. Not because he doesn't want to, in his defense.
yeah.
And you know, when I was Charlotte's age, I always wanted a man like that. Because my dad and my brother are very like traditional men that would just never do anything at home, and that used to drive me insane. And I always grew up knowing that I would never marry a man that never did anything around the house, because that was just not for me. I can't be dealing with feeling subservient in any way to
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, I can relate to that.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I had any ideas. In fact, I'm not sure growing up I even thought about getting married, let alone the type of man I wanted to marry, because I was just, I don't know, I didn't really think about things like that growing up. And funny enough, when I left home at 20 and bought a house with my boyfriend at the time, I did absolutely nothing in the house. He did, I mean, I was a lazy bitch then. I did nothing. And he was a bit like that. He came from a home where his mum did everything for him. And we moved in together. And I think he thought I was joking when I told him I couldn't cook and I didn't really know how to clean or do anything like that. And then he realised that, oh my God, she's not joking and she's not even making any kind of stand. She's absolutely useless in the kitchen. So he quite enjoyed it, to be fair. He enjoyed cooking and we kind of cleaned together, but he definitely did everything. Oh God, why do we end these relationships because we want more out of life? And then fast forward like 25 years, you think that's who I want. I want that person to look after me and do everything. I don't really. I couldn't really do that, I don't think. But
No, but like you want
maybe I
those,
do
like,
some days.
yeah, simple joys of like someone taking that load off you,
Yeah.
appreciating what kind of day you've had and picking up everything else when you've had that day. Like,
Yeah.
that's not much to ask, is it? But yeah,
No.
20-year-old self didn't know that at all.
No.
But I think our girls will be different. I think they're growing up in such a different way to what we did, that
Oh
they
my God.
they know their own
Yeah.
minds so much already, even on the little things, never mind the big things. Like, they're so present in their own thinking. It astounds me.
Yeah. I think some of the things, I think things like, I don't know, gender, sexuality. Charlotte comes out with things and are just complete disinterest in it as well. Kind of fills me with joy that she just says things as a matter of fact, about, I don't know, gay people, or she will just say like, oh yeah, that man's married to a man, he's gay.
Mm.
Not a flicker. And I love that. I love that it's just so accepted, it's so the norm. There's no even curiosity about it,
No.
about like different things like I would have absolutely, I know like times were different, but I knew there were gay people, but I didn't know any growing up. It wasn't until I became an adult and I had like gay friends and things, but yeah, it's just the, not even the acceptance of it, but just the absolute normality of it. Some people are gay, some people are straight, some people are black, some people are white. Yeah, it's just there. It's nice.
That
It's
is
just not
amazing.
an issue or anything even worthy of comment.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. It's a good place to be in the world for them to be growing up like that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It does throw up as well. Like, we are totally off topic. I think this is just an off topic episode today.
Is that what we're going to rename it?
Just off topic. But it does remind me that at that lunch for Women's Day, we were talking about how it's not actually like massively inclusive in those kind of ways, those events. When we talk about gender as a construct now, and there's people that, might identify as female, but will not be welcomed in all women's events and things like that. And that doesn't feel so good, because now, like, a lot of mums that I meet are growing up with, non-binary children or trans children. And so they're, opening their eyes to, like, would this kind of event even welcome them? A lot of the time, probably not. It absolutely should. But,
That
it
is interesting.
starts making you think about it all, doesn't it?
I think because my day job where I work, which I'm not going to mention on the pod because, keep it separate and all that, but it's a very, very kind of forward thinking organisation, and we're all over stuff like that at work. So there is inclusivity, and there are things that they do, and there's been a lot of conversation about that recently, about So I'm a member of, I can't believe I'm saying this on the pod for the world to hear, but I'm a member of a women's support group, which used to be called a menopause support group, but has been renamed because people didn't feel comfortable saying they're going to a menopause support group. I didn't feel comfortable saying I'm going to a menopause support group because it conjures up images, most of which are just not helpful. So they renamed it. But we just had a meeting, I think last week, and there was talk about changing the name again to make it more inclusive and not calling it women's. There was a bit of conversation about what it will be called, but that is so that people can be included in it and not feel that they can't attend it because they may not have been, I don't know, born a woman or. So yeah, so we're very on top of that at work, and I think because we get so much communication about it, I'm very used to that.
Yeah.
But I suppose it outside of that world, you're right, it just doesn't happen a lot, does it? And people don't even think about it.
No, and that's what I was thinking, like, because I'm in the charity sector, you're in like social enterprise kind of sector. So those sectors, I think, really think about it because they work with all the different groups, they champion all the different groups. And I think you're right, in other places that are a bit more, say, corporate, more traditional, they're just not thinking about it. They might have a tick box. I'm sure they all put an International Women's Day post on, but whether if they had any events, they would think to include all kinds of women it's very different.
And I think that's the thing. I think, that everyone celebrates International Women's Day, but nobody digs any deeper than that. And like you say, the lunch thing, it's like, oh, it's International Women's Day. Let's have a lunch and celebrate women. It's so much more than that. It's so much like women. Oh God, I'm sounding like a pure feminist, but women do have a harder time, like in the workplace. And I think as well in the corporate world, I think part of it is because potentially I'm not stereotyping any organizations, but where I work, the tagline is #be you, and you can be yourself. And if yourself means, for example, dressing in women's clothes because you identify in as a trans person or you're going through transition, that's fine. It's absolutely fine to you can be whoever you are and whoever you want to be. But in the corporate world, I do want, so because those people are there and they're visible, they need to be included because they're there like any other employees there. So I'm not saying it's easy to include them, but it's kind of in your face and you're very aware of the different types of people in the organization. Whereas I think in the corporate world, I'm not sure if you were a male and you identified as a female and you just like to dress a certain way, for example, how comfortable you would be going in that setting dressed like that. So I think the corporate world, some of the corporate world may not be on top of things like that because they may not be fully aware of it.
No, I think you're right. It is like awareness and creating a safe space where people like that can be themselves and talk about being themselves, openly if they want, or even to feel welcomed into that space. So yeah. International Women's Day just throws up all sorts now, doesn't it? Like it's oh yeah, funny place to be in.
Like I say, I kind of ignored it because everything was annoying me on International Women's Day this year. Because I was just feeling very, I'd had a bad week, but I was just feeling we've not come that far.
I know, and interestingly, we'll come back to it when we do our proper adversity podcast. But like mine is like a workplace thing, and being in a workplace where I was made to feel like I had to be more manly constantly to get by, and like the damage that did to like try and behave like a man because the men were the only ones that were succeeding. So like you had to behave like one to succeed, and like the damage that did to me as a person because you're just putting on a whole front and being something you're not and neglecting so much of your natural self. Like, just not right. And I think there's so many places sadly in the world still like that. that just, you know, whether you're a woman, whether you're trans, whether you're gay, you know, any of the sort of marginalized groups, if you're entering spaces where you can't be safe to be yourself, you're trying to be something you're not, it's just so damaging for you.
Oh God, absolutely, yeah. I feel at work particularly that if I want to move up, which I don't, I'm very much in a place where I've got my business, I've got my life, and I made lots of choices when I had Charlotte about the kind of mum I wanted to be, and that I wanted to be around more, and I didn't want to be working ridiculous hours, and I wanted a good work-life balance. And that's come at a cost of any kind of career. And I do find, and this does annoy me, that if I wanted to seriously think about moving up at work in this very inclusive place that I work, realistically, I need to stop ringing my boss and saying, I can't come in today, Charlotte's not well, or I've got a doctor's appointment, or anything that impinges on my work. Being ill is very frowned upon. Yeah, then I couldn't hashtag be me if I wanted to progress. And
Yeah,
I feel like I'm a lesser employee because I've got a child, and I felt like that ever. And I think because I had age 40, I had a lot of work under my belt until I had a child, so I knew what it was like, and I moved up through the ranks. I had really, really good jobs, high powered jobs, and a career, and then through choice, fair enough, but there've been times now Charlotte's older that I thought, you know, I could move up now at work and do this, but I can't, because I honestly think that there is a mark above my head of, I don't know, not committed, not flexible enough, not, and it's because I've got child and I've got child issues, and I refuse to be that person who rings somebody else and goes, oh, can you deal with Charlotte because I need to be in the office. I don't want to be that person. So this is a little battle I have going. I kind of want my cake and want to eat it. But I think there are men who do have the cake and eat it.
yeah. I mean, what that is saying, what the world is saying to you there is like, you can't prioritize your child or your health. And that's just not right for anyone. Like, if you know, you put that to management, they'd be like, no, well, of course you need to do that. Of course we support you doing that. But the reality of that is very different.
That's exactly it. And that's how I felt about the, you know, we employ women doing traditional men's jobs. Like, yeah, we do. And that's all very well until that person gets that job. And if that person's got kids, they are going to have problems because they won't be able to do a man's job because it will be frowned upon to be a mum. And yeah, it's interesting times.
It is like, from a human perspective, surely at the very base, we need to be prioritizing like family life and health. And I just think that's why so many of us are like looking for something different outside of that, you know,
Exactly, yeah.
because it doesn't have to be like that if you create your own thing and make something that's got very different values from that. And I think that's why we're seeing so many more people get into like social enterprises and things like that, so they can do things their own way while prioritizing their family and things as well.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, it's, I mean, I've got my side thing, which the thing is though, I love my job. I love where I work and I love the people I work with and I love what I do. And sometimes I do think about, if my business took off to the point I could leave my job, would I really want that? Because everything's a balance, isn't it? What I'd make up for work-life balance and having time to do what I want to do and live the life that I want, I would really miss out on the socialization and being with people who are, you know, lovely, lovely people.
Yeah.
So that makes me think, well, actually, I'm working towards something that if it actually happened, I'm not sure that I even want it. But I figure, as I've always figured in life, I'll worry about that when I get there.
Yeah.
um,
exactly. And being on the flip side of coming out of that job, what you find is you actually find more of the people that you want to be with rather than you're forced to be with.
Yeah.
You find different spaces to.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just the world of work makes us not want to leave it as well. It makes you, feel sort of safe and secure in it, which makes it even harder.
That's the thing. It is even harder. And I think about, I'm reading at the moment Will Smith's autobiography. Bit of a curveball for me, but it's really inspirational. And what I found inspirational about it, and this comes to the leaving your job, people that have come from nothing. He didn't come from nothing, by the way, really. He had a very strict, yet his father gave him some very good life lessons on how to succeed in life. But the people that have come from literally nothing and have made something of themselves, everyone's always like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's like, wow. But I always think, actually, that's easy because you had nothing. You had absolutely nothing to lose. I'm not saying it's easy. I am not dissing anybody who came from nothing and made something of their lives. I'm not saying that. They obviously had challenges to get the mindset if they didn't come from, a normal loving home. But my point is that it's easy to make massive changes when you have nothing.
Absolutely.
When you have a nice house, money coming in, security, it's really hard to give that up. And I've speaking of someone who's done it, I did it in 2016 when I gave up my job to do my first business with my business partner. That was terrifying. It was exhilarating / terrifying at the same time. But it's really hard to do. Whereas if you had nothing, anything you make is a bonus, and you just move on from there. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good place to round up episode 3, which went completely off track. Really good way. Very off topic, but of the moment. So thanks for joining us on the Manifestation Pod. We'll be back on topic next time, hopefully. But yeah, speak to you soon.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Manifestation Pod with me, Sam Fillingham, and Louise Marshall. Please follow, subscribe, and rate our pod. Share with friends to support two ordinary mums living extraordinary lives.